This episode of WDW Today is being sponsored by MEI and Mouse Fan Travel. And you know, it's 2010 it's already April. I mean, already April. It's almost May. And you know what? It's time to plan that trip for 2010. Plan that trip, plan those trips, whatever it may be. Now's the great time to plan your next trip to Walt Disney World. And why not have MEI and Mouse Fan Travel help you plan that next trip? You know, there's lots of great reasons you can use them for. I mean, I use them. We all use them. They do a great job. But let's not forget the fact that the cost to you, the person who uses it, is nothing. They're a no-fee travel agency. So that means that you're going to pay the same you would pay Disney. Maybe even you'll save some money. So why not give them a try? Try them out at www.mousefantravel.com.
This is Walt Disney World Today. Give us 5 minutes and we'll give you the world.
Wednesday, April 21st, 2010, and this is episode 710 of WDW Today. I'm Matt Hochberg of StudioCentral.com. Joining me on today's show is Len Testa, co-author of the Unofficial Guide to Walt Disney World. And Len, I was checking out the Unofficial Guide Color Companion over the weekend, and boy, there's some new resorts I've been missing all these years.
Yeah, the one of them is the Seven Dwarfs Cavern, which has you in the mind of the Seven Dwarfs during the movie. It's hysterical, actually.
Yeah, I particularly like the all men resort, which had a pro of no women and a con of no women. It's so there are a couple of really funny jokes in the Color Companion. Most of it is actual information, but some of it is not. You've inspired me, though, that whenever I have a child and I get a stroller, to put a nuclear symbol on the back of my stroller.
Yeah, we have tips for keeping your stroller safe in Walt Disney World. That's one of them.
You definitely got to check it out. I really thought it was like, okay, it'll just be pictures of Disney World. It's really, really entertaining.
There are so many jokes in the book. We've read a couple of the sections on previous shows, but I think pretty much every page has something really funny on it.
Also joining us on today's show is Mike Newell of Mouse World Radio. Welcome, Mike.
Oh, I forgot I was even on tonight.
Also joining us on today's show is Mike Scopa, a senior feature writer and blogger for allears.net. Welcome, Mike.
Although what they're smuggling, I'm not quite sure. Oops. Sorry, lady.
Sounds dangerous?
Yes.
Okay. Also joining us on today's show is the fabulous Annette Owens, a manager of customer relations and group services for MEI and Mouse Fan Travel. Welcome back, Annette.
Hey, guys. Nice to be here. 2 shows in a row. Woohoo!
Welcome back.
Your dreams were your ticket out.
Yeah. And I'm on vacation now after this one, so.
To that same old place you laughed about.
Well, the dreams
it's Wednesday, and we're answering your listener questions. And we'll start out with a question from John from Tennessee, who writes, just got in on your podcast about 4 months ago, and now I can't wait for each one to come out. I love your show and you guys, and occasional gal, and are hilarious. I catch myself laughing out loud while I'm listening at work. I get a few looks of concern, but never the evil eye. I always need a laugh after listening to Mangello since he's so negative and dark.
Lou, negative and dark, right.
On to my question conundrum. My family of 5, wife, 3 kids ages 11, 9, and 6, and myself will be traveling to the world at the end of May. Also going are my parents, my brother's family, and my sister's family, 17 in all. We have meals planned together at table service restaurants, but I haven't decided whether to purchase the meal plan or not. I need your help. I think I know how you generally feel about the plan, but since we're definitely doing 3 pretty expensive meals already during the week, would it be better to just purchase the plan and get the 7 table service meals? I did the math, and it looks like buying our meals as we go would roughly cost us $1,000 for the week, including snacks and tips, while the dining plan would cost $1,176 after adding $150 in tips. By the way, we've gotten 7 ADRs already in case we get the plan.
Is anyone else thinking what I'm thinking here?
Is this a Pinky in the Brain joke coming our way?
No. How many days are they going?
How many days? Did they say how many days they were going? 7? Well, they got 7 meals, so I'm just thinking at least a week, right?
So I'm thinking an annual pass on the Tables in Wonderland.
Yeah.
Ooh, that's a good idea.
Because that's 20% right there, so that'll save them on $1,000. That'll save them a couple $100. The break-even point on the dining plan, or sorry, on the Tables in Wonderland is $350. So they're way beyond that, and that's going to save them 20%. So that's going to save them at least a couple $100, $225. off off that, and that's assuming that they're not going to be able to use it anywhere else, which they should be able to. That's more than going to make up for the incremental cost of the annual pass for one adult, and they could get a hotel room discount.
They just need to make sure they have enough tables of Wonderland cards to handle the crowd.
Yeah, I think you can get up to.
I've never had any trouble with it.
We've had some issues. I know that Newell, you and I, we've gone to Star Wars weekends a couple times, and we had a meal typically, and there were a bunch of us there, and they were sticklers at that point. So it can be. I think Mike has a point that you may want to get maybe a couple of them just to cover your bases. You don't have to get one for every person.
Right. Was it all on one ticket when you were using your? If they all pay together.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I mean, it's just, I think maybe having 2 or 3 would probably be just a good practice.
It's really funny because it's one of those things where, depending upon the service, some of them don't care and some of them do care.
Yeah.
Or the manager, I guess, of the restaurant.
Yeah.
John adds, also, I'm not sure about the hopper option. We currently have base tickets, but wouldn't mind the flexibility of the hopper. Ideally, we'd like to hop for, 2 or 3 days, but is it worth $260 extra? Would it be cheaper to add it on later in the week? If we got the hopper, I'm sure we'd use it more than the 2 or 3 days, but the world is busy enough while doing just one park a day.
That's one way of saving money, though. You could do one park a day. The difficulty comes in when, like, you're at the Animal Kingdom, or when it closes at 5 or 6, and people want to keep going, or they want to do something different for a meal. It also makes it difficult if you've got ADRs and it turns out that you don't want to be at that park, or it's not a good park to go to that day. The hopper option is more useful there.
Cool. Next email's from Becky Kale of Cincinnati, Ohio, who writes, called in on the March live show asking about where the Sum of All Thrills fits in the touring plan.
I just updated the touring plans today. That's awesome.
Well, took your advice. While my husband got Fast Passes for Soarin', the rest of us hit Test Track and Mission Space, and then went to the Sum of All Thrills. When we got in line, the wait was 15 minutes, which was about how long we waited. By the time we were done, the wait was 50 minutes. Very impressed as always. Keep up the good work.
I'm telling you, man, it's exactly the way to go. Nice. It's and it's a great ride. I don't know if there were any comments about the ride itself, but the ride is a hoot.
Oh, I love that. It's a great
how would the queue line be in there for 50 minutes? Where the heck would they put that queue line?
It'd be back at the other end of...
it loops around. It can, but yeah. Next email's from Jeff from Fort Smith, Arkansas, who's Goofy Jeff on WDWToday.com.
Hoorah.
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 Hoorah. Hello to the fabulous, effervescent, outstanding, freaking, and ancient hosts of my favorite podcast. I'll let you figure out who gets what title.
That's awesome.
We're heading to see Mickey and the Gang the last week of May 2010. I just listened to episode 705, Food versus Atmosphere. I enjoyed hearing the comments about various eateries in the world. What I didn't hear discussed very much was service. The level of service in a restaurant makes a huge difference in how I would rate said restaurant. Personally, at home, I would rather eat in a place with okay food but great service. I can cook good food at home a lot cheaper too. When I go out, it's either for the convenience, for example the service, or atmosphere. But I won't go back somewhere if it's got bad food or bad service. I'm wondering why you didn't discuss service more while you were discussing food and theming. Is it because the level of service is the same across all restaurants at Disney World? We're limited when it comes to the number of restaurants we've been to in the parks and resorts. We've always had good experiences when it comes to both food and service, whether there was much of theme involved or not.
I don't think you can say in a blanket statement that the service is better at Le Cellier or better at Chef Mickey's, because it's an individual thing. If you have 20 different servers in a restaurant, you're going to have 20 different levels of service at the table. You're going to have those people who, Len, can handle a large tray of drinks at Le Cellier, and there are those people who cannot, handle a large tray of drinks at Le Cellier. It's very much an individual thing, and I don't think you can say this restaurant has bad service when you may have 80% of the servers there are great, and maybe 20% maybe don't meet your level of service.
Yeah, the thing is, Disney's usually so consistent in their training of servers that it's rare to see a huge disparity in service at a particular establishment for any length of time. I mean, everyone has an off day, and everyone has a day when they're just trying really hard to exceed expectations. But in general, service is pretty consistent among all the restaurants.
Cool. Next email's from Kate from Puyallup, Washington.
Puyallup.
Cool. Yep. Right. So I have a Disneyland question for anyone that wants to answer. I have family members who are moving down to Huntington Beach, California, which is about 10 miles away from Disneyland. This has inspired me to consider some long road trips to visit family and visit Disneyland too. And so this is the first time I'm considering an annual pass. Is there a way to get a Southern California resident discount by using the address of my relatives there in California? I'm sure just asking this question, Big Brother Mickey will undoubtedly be watching me and wanting to take me to the underground jail rumored to be under Disneyland. I know ethics, methics. I just want to know if it's possible. Here's the thing about this. I get questions about this personally, people who are in Florida as well. Can my brother lives in, somewhere in Florida. Can I do this? The thing with, obviously anyone who's a resident of either California or Florida could buy you one of those resident tickets. The thing is, if something should happen, theoretically, Disney can always question anybody on any ticket. They could ask you for, proof of residency. This applies to Florida residents, and I'm sure this happens for California as well, is that if you went to the park with a Florida resident pass and you went in there and they could ask you, can I see your Florida ID, just to verify it. And it's well within their rights, and it's part of the thing that you sign off and everything. So in that case, then you'd be in trouble. So again, the ethics aside, that's one reason why you probably don't. I don't know if it's worth the risk to you personally, just for that reason alone, because you could just be called out on it at any point. Don't know if it'll ever happen, but just saying. Next email is from Mike from Flatwoods, Kentucky.
Hiya, Mike.
It's guys, love the show. We go to Disney World every year and use your sponsor, Mouse Fan Travel, to book through. They're great.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mike.
Our level of planning is beginning to resemble a full-scale military assault in order to achieve all the goals of the mission. Our vacation. But I'm wondering if there's something we're missing. Do you recommend something like behind-the-scenes tours? We're already spending enough of the week, even with the free dining package, but we're seriously love Disney World and don't want to miss out on a great experience. Other than that, is there an attraction, event, or area that most people miss, even frequent guests, that you recommend? We're a group of 3, myself, my wife, and our 7-year-old son, and go every year during the school's fall break, October 3rd through 10th. Last year, we did our first Disney cruise. It was a lot of fun, but due to the cost, not something you can do every year. This might be
they're going during Food and Wine, right?
Yeah, October 3rd is that's Food and Wine time, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's definitely something.
It's definitely something that. Yeah, it's also something that most people probably don't see because of the timing.
Right. And is there anything? I'm sure you and your clients, coworkers get this question a lot.
I travel with each and every one of them.
Yes, exactly.
You and your coworkers get this quite a bit over there in terms of people looking for something a little different to try on a trip. What are your recommendations generally?
Well, first he was asking about backstage tours and stuff, and I think tours are a great thing if you've gone to Disney several times. You might want to see some backstage stuff. Problem is with a 7-year-old, limits you.
True.
But there's all sorts of things that a lot of people miss, like the campfire. Maybe in the campfire, you don't have to be at the campground to go over there. A lot of people, that's just one nighttime little thing that they can do. A lot of fun. I think some other things that get overlooked are maybe some of the recreational activities that Disney has, the boats, the mini mites, that kind of stuff. There's some things that, different aspects of vacation and travel with family they could try.
Absolutely. Any other suggestions?
Even if it's something, even if the tours are something simple like the behind the scenes tour, right? Which is most of the other tours.
You could do that one.
Yeah, most of the other tours are like a commitment, right? I mean, they're 4 or 5 hours long, if not longer. And again, I've had relationships that haven't lasted that long. So I think the 1 hour behind the scenes tour is a good introduction into those things. And again, not a lot of people do it. It's relatively inexpensive. It's not a huge commitment in terms of time or money. I would say try that to start with. Plus, I really like the greenhouse.
Good point. Next email is from Amy Peterman, who writes, I would like to add that you suggest to your listeners, for those going to Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween Party, to sit for Hollow Wishes, then stay for the second parade. And if you sit in the hub by the castle, you can watch the villain show while waiting for the second parade. We've done this both years that we've gone, and it works great. That's a good idea for anyone going to Not So Scary later this year.
I've never thought of that. That's wonderful.
Yeah, I mean, the biggest problem with staking out a good spot is that, you have to be there for a while, and it's kind of boring.
Actually, the most difficult part is moving the people that are already in the spot. But I've found, those ant farms that you can buy through mail order. wonders.
Oops.
Just oopsie doodle.
I dropped it.
Yeah.
That's right after you spilled your Coke on the
Exactly. My
Well, you could really bug someone with that, huh?
Nice.
I love watching people camp out for spots, though. That's so much fun. I saw one man last time I was down there that actually, an hour and a half before the parade, was taking a nap on the curb.
Wow.
Everybody dodging him. Yep, right on the curb.
Next email is from Mike from Leavenworth, Kansas. Guys, I purchased the year of the crowd calendar. The calendar never goes below 4. Yeah. Has the calendar ever gone below 4? Yes.
Yeah. So it's gone to 3 actually. So this is an interesting question. The index that we're talking about here ranks the maximum wait time at the 3 Magic Kingdom mountains that you'll see during the day. So a 4 corresponds to a maximum wait of around 40 minutes. So Disney actually manipulates the ride capacity of its popular rides so that it always achieves a certain minimum number of minutes to wait. So, for example, when it's July and the park is packed full of people, pretty much every available ride vehicle is running on Splash Mountain and Space Mountain and Big Thunder Mountain. But in February, when it's cold and there are not as many people there, they don't have every single ride vehicle running on the rides. They scale it down, and they do that. Yeah, they do that to manipulate the wait times, and they also do it to save wear and tear on the vehicles. Right, the fewer ride vehicles that are running, the less wear and tear there is on the vehicles themselves, on the track. There are less operators they need to man them and stuff like that. So they try and keep everything, I think, around a 20 to 40 or 50 minute wait during the off season, and they do that by manipulating the number of vehicles on the track. That's why you never see the crowd calendar dip below 3. That being said, we're coming out with a new crowd calendar in May that is a true 1 to 10 ranking, and I'll have more details on that when it comes out.
Oh, that's what we call a teaser in the radio industry.
Exactly.
Next email is from somebody who didn't reveal their name. Mm-hmm. Got to leave your name and where you're from. Don't forget. Hello, podcast team. Discovered your podcast in June and now have caught up on all podcasts that are available on iTunes. Yay. I especially enjoy the listener question episodes. I travel extensively, and you guys really help me get through some long drives and flights. With the announcement of the new Fantasyland expansion, we have rethought our upcoming trip to the world. If we're going to be going in the fall of 2010, will our visit be affected negatively by the construction? If we want to wait till the expansion is complete, when should we plan on visiting? To add to the decision, we have about $500 in Disney Visa rewards that will start to expire in January 2013. This means we would be there for what I would imagine would be out-of-control crowds to witness the new attractions. Just wanting your opinion on what to do in this situation.
Yeah, that's a great question. So a couple of things. One is I don't expect it to be done till 2013, although maybe late 2012. And I would expect stuff to start happening this fall, particularly with the closure of Toontown.
Yeah, one thing that, to be completely unobjective and completely irrational, why not just go for both? Why do you have to limit yourself to a trip either in a couple of years or a trip this year and not both? It's not like you're saying, okay, well, I can only do a trip like in March or in October, which makes a lot of sense. A lot of people can't afford multiple trips in a year. But why not go for both? Come now, enjoy. Even Fantasyland's not working out that great. It's all right. There's 3 other parks. I'm sure you'll have a great time down there, and then come back, plan that trip for when Fantasyland reopens. And I guess one concern that you may have is, I don't know, crowds or anything like that. Len, do you have any idea what the Fantasyland thing might potentially do to crowds in the park?
Well, it's definitely going to reduce demand a bit because people generally stick around in the Fantasyland Toontown area for autographs, and because Fantasyland is sort of popular with small children. But with Toontown set to close and the characters being dispersed throughout the park, and I know a lot of them are going to Main Street, but some of them are definitely going elsewhere. You're going to see a smaller concentration of people in the back end of the park, especially later on in the day. So you may see them wandering around a bit more. It's really hard to predict because Disney hasn't come out and said, here's where all the characters are going to be. Ariel, for example, right? Ariel's temporarily in Adventureland, or will be in Adventureland in May.
Nothing says under the sea like Adventureland.
Well, and she'll be in human form too.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, so characters will be everywhere. And the exposition hall on Main Street is closing, so they can refurb that. That'll eventually be a lot of the where a lot of the characters end up. But again, I don't think they want to put too many characters there because it's really not built to handle that many people, right? It's sort of like a byway on the way to something else. So it's really interesting to see what they're going to do there. My guess is they're going to keep dispersing them around the park just to make sure that the lines are relatively low. Now, the downside to that is if you're really interested in meeting characters, you're pretty much walking around the park all the time.
Right.
Yeah.
Next email is from Mike McDonald of Bell River, Ontario, Canada. Writes, "Good day, A, from Canada. This is my first email to the podcast, so I'm hoping you can help. We're planning on driving down to the world for our break in Ontario. I was wondering how early Disney posts their refurbishment schedule. This will be our 4th trip since June 2005, and each time we've paid for the park hopper for the week. We always get it because I'm always worried about needing to go back to a park later in the trip. Truth is, though, we might park hop once or twice in a week. Is it possible to get the park hopper just for a portion of our stay?"
No.
It's all or nothing, fortunately or unfortunately.
Unfortunately, yeah. The other thing, too, for our new listeners, one of the most common questions we get about park hopping is, can you buy extra days on your Magic Your Way ticket and use 2, quote, days off of your ticket to visit 2 parks in one day? And the answer is no, you can't. So Disney's computer system is set up so that it won't let you into the second park on the same day unless you've got the park hopper option.
Yeah.
See, they do catch on to what people are doing.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's it's kind of the good news is you can always add it any time in your trip. I mean, if you go down there on your first day and you're like, man, I can really use the park hopping option, there's no penalty.
I could really get out of this park.
Gotta get into another one.
The animal kingdom.
The only thing that would stink though is if you the whole week you're fighting it and then like the second to last day you buy into it and then you say, well,
that'd be bad.
Yeah,
that would be.
Next email's from Jeff from Lansing, Michigan. Whereas I've searched everywhere for the answer of this, but couldn't locate it anywhere. I thought maybe a seasoned veteran might have had some experience with this. Mm-hmm. I'll be getting married in the world in December. I have already scheduled all of our ADRs for our trip, aside from the last day. I want to make a last meal a moment to remember before heading back. However, we'll be using Disney's Magical Express. And I have chosen an airline that will do the express check-in so that I don't have to manage our luggage on the voyage home. Here's my question. Do I have to board the Magical Express bus at the resort I was staying at, or can I board from anywhere? I'm unsure where I'm going to dine, and I don't want to have to rush back to the Poly if I can help it.
I've never taken the Magical Express back to the airport.
Yeah, Annette, what's the rule on this?
I'm pretty positive you have to go back from the resort that you stayed at. Because they have you on a list. You check in at the list.
Checking it twice?
Yeah, they check you off from there. I mean, I've never contacted Magical Express and said they would prefer to leave from a different hotel, so I'm not quite sure.
Yeah, that stinks.
Next email is from Paul H., who writes, in episode 614, I've never heard anything about how much to tip guys that take your bags to the rooms. I heard bad guys at the airport, valet parking, housekeeping, Magical Express, tipping of buffets, etc. Did I miss it while napping during your super long discussion? Just kidding.
It's like $1 a bag, right? Assuming you're not packing bricks in the bag.
Yeah, I mean, if they're helping you bring your luggage up to your room, I think the $1 a bag rate is what the going rate is.
Yeah.
So, very good. Next email is from Jody from Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Writes, my husband and I have a trick to make fast passes go farther. My son is 4, and this October will be his 5th trip to the parks, and we have been on 2 cruises. Also, 1 trip to Disneyland. We love the mouse. Our tip is for a ride that he doesn't want to ride, is too short for, or sleeping through. We only get 1 fast pass for each ride, and then use the rider swap. For example, when he wasn't For example, when he wasn't big enough for Splash Mountain, we would get 1 there and 1 Big Thunder Mountain. Then we would go to the fast pass line and say we needed a rider swap. And then 1 goes on the ride with the fast pass. We don't mind going alone. While the other waits, and then we switch when they get off. This way, we both go through the fast pass line for less waiting. We maximize being able to get fast passes timely. We then move on to the other ride. That's actually a good idea.
Pretty good.
Another
great idea.
Just another small tip on strollers. While it's not nice to have to bring a stroller and just rent it at the park, let me try that again. While it is nice not to have to bring a stroller and just rent it at the park, the problem is at the end of the night when you have to return it and either carry a sleeping or tired child while you yourself are also tired. We like to just stroll him out, and then we don't have to pick him up until the bus comes. We use a comfortable medium-sized stroller. It doesn't have to be a monster one, just one that's comfortable for him to fit in and for us to push. Love the podcast. Annette is my favorite since she seems to get the kid thing.
Yay!
Yay. All right. I think it's time for our last question of the day. What do you think, Newell?
It sounds good to me.
All right. We got 3 options to choose from. I'll give Mr. Newell 3 options. 1 gets read today. The other 2 go back into the email queue to be answered later. Are you ready, Mike?
Bring on the complaints.
That's right. All right.
Release the hounds. Go ahead.
Your options
Release
are
the Kraken.
The Kraken, exactly.
girly men. Mouse World Radio can be more dangerous than you may initially suspect. Or journey into no imagination.
Wow. I kind of want it to be all about me, but Journey into No Imagination sounds kind of fun.
You are not modest. Are you modest or not modest? I can't.
I'm not
you don't
modest.
Am I?
Yeah,
I am modest.
You're very
yes.
modest.
Yes.
Yes.
Plays it safe.
Yes.
Last email of the day is from Ryan Verrier of Appleton, Wisconsin. Right, so I heard a couple of weeks ago that Disney said not to get our hopes up that Dreamfinder would be coming back anytime soon. Well, this makes sense. Why would they want to bring back a ride that had a great soundtrack, great scenes, and awesome characters? That just does not sound like a Disney ride to me. So I went on YouTube to see if I would still like the old ride or if it would be boring and outdated.
No.
As I was watching it, my 4-year-old came up and asked what ride I was watching. He has been to the world every year of his life. I told him that how Figment's ride used to be. He said, "Wow, I wish I could have gone on that ride." My wife then came over to watch. She started remembering all those great scenes from the ride. She said that she could not believe how dumbed down the new version is. I totally agree with her. So my question is, why wouldn't they want to at least try and bring back some of those elements? Today, you can go on it and see everything in 1 or 2 rides. It's like people who designed the ride never actually had any imaginations themselves. In the old days, you could go on it over and over and over again and see something new each time. I realize cost is an issue, but wouldn't Disney rather have a ride that people actually go on? There are times when I ride it, my family are the only ones on it. And this is in August during peak season. So I would guess watching the old version was a bad idea. It actually makes me sad. I wish Disney would go back to the top of the Imagination building and take their imagination out of storage. Don't even get me started on the upstairs area.
I really think that Figment's time is limited. I just get that feeling.
No.
Think?
No way. I think his current time is limited, but they'll wind up doing something with. He's like the unofficial character of the park.
Yeah. I remember they took him away, and when they brought him back, they actually had these polo shirts. I have one. It says "Figment is back." But
I'm wondering if they don't do anything with. I mean, like the whole pavilion's outdated. Let's be honest. I'm wondering if the sponsor has something to do with that.
One cast member one time told me that.
Wait, are you saying that a company based on film is outdated?
Well, that's where I'm getting at, because I wouldn't be surprised if they are not planning to, renew the contract. And then what does Disney do with does it leave it? I don't know.
All I heard, a cast member friend of mine who's been working as a cast member for over 10 years said that about a year and a half ago, Bob Iger said that he really did not like Journey into Your Imagination and was thinking about replacing it. So that's all I've heard about it. And I thought I heard from someone that there were demolition plans filed for that pavilion somewhere. So I put those two together, and I thought that possibly that there was some stuff going on that maybe indicated that pavilion would be replaced in the near future.
I mean, I think there's 2 ways to look at this. Obviously, we as Disney fans, I mean, I agree. I think we all generally liked the old attraction. And certainly I don't think the current version, is, on the top of any of our lists or remotely close to it. The other thing to keep in mind is that no guests are going into the guest relations and complaining about the ride or that there's no Dreamfinder there, because the average guest has no clue at all.
Right.
And, the amount of complaints they get are minute to non-existent, because that's just the reality. Most people don't know, don't care, don't know, ignorance, whatever it may be. So to the company's extent, it's not like the people are beating down the doors in order to get it, and that's a whole different discussion. So it's kind of an interesting thing. I mean, I think kids enjoy it, but I mean, I agree with our writer that it's not by no means is it the best attraction out there, and I would love to see that'd be the 4th edition if they redid it again. So I would love to see that. Len, let's close with your thoughts on the attraction.
It's definitely not anywhere near what the original was, and you're right. It is dumbed down. It's and I don't know why. There's probably a whole set of a whole other show on the commentary we could do around that. It's definitely not as imaginative, or as maybe as thought provoking. Even the tech. Remember we said this on an earlier show. The technology that used to be at the end of Journey into Imagination, some of it is probably still pretty good today, which tells you how advanced Disney was thinking. Back 20 years ago. You just don't see that now. I mean, I don't know. I don't know if it's a budget thing or Disney's trying to play to the lowest common denominator or what. It's just not the same.
I think cost definitely has something to do with it.
I agree.
It might be what Newell was saying earlier about the sponsor.
Yeah, it could be.
Well, that's it for us today. Don't forget, this episode of WDW Today has been sponsored by Mouse Fan Travel. And you know what? If you're looking to book your next trip to Walt Disney World and you're saying, I got to book my next trip to Walt Disney World, I don't really need to book it with MEI and Mouse Fan Travel, or whatever your reason may be.
I can do it myself. Famous last words.
Famous last words. But you know what? Why not get something for free while you're doing it? You're going to book your trip. You're going to go to Disney World anyway, right? Why not get a free? That's free. Free. 1-year subscription to touringplans.com.
Woo!
You're going to book the trip anyway. You might as well get something for free, right? I mean,
that's what I say. Free.
You can listen to Mouse World Radio and like I do, and you can try calling in for those free T-shirts once in a while. But Mary Newell keeps on calling in and beating you to it. That's all right.
I never get those free T-shirts.
But if you book a qualifying vacation for 4 or more nights with MEI and Mouse Fan Travel by April 30th, you got to act soon. April 30th is the key. You'll get a free 1-year subscription to touringplans.com. Free. And then you can access all those great things that make the day at work go by so much more quickly.
Free.
Because you're not working.
That's true.
Check them out online at www.mousefantravel.com.
I like free.
If you want to find our older episodes, read our show notes, or send us your comments, visit the WDW Today website at wdwtoday.com. For Len Testa, Mike Scopa, Mike Newell, and the fabulous Annette Owens, I'm Matt Hochberg. We'll see you on the next show.
Stupid Judy, stupid energy.
This has been a production of Mouse World Radio.